All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you on this very sunny day in Duluth, Minnesota. I think we're sitting at a balmy 44 degrees outside. There's no breeze. It's quite sunny, so it's very nice. And my beard is just all over the place. What's going on here, people? I hate it when it's uneven. It drives me nuts. Anyway, let's get some housekeeping out of the way on this fine Tuesday morning, April 21st, 2019. I hope you are all well and prosperous in your day and have a wonderful week. Like and subscribe. We have jumped up to 485 subscribers, man. I don't know what's going on. You guys are awesome. Thank you for telling your friends and promoting the channel or whatever it is you're doing. I don't know how it's happening, but thank you. Every like and subscribe helps. Tell your friends, pass it on, and let's grow the meanies, man. Let's grow the meanies army. Angry Joe has his army. I've got my meanies, and my meanies can take out any Angry Joe. Angry Joe's awesome. I watch his show all the time. I'm a big video game nut for consoles, and so I really like his show. But man, he's got some issues going on. Go check it out if you want. It's a cool show. He does movie reviews, video games. Doesn't really do a whole lot on the RPG side, but mostly video games and movies for the consoles and PC. But anyway, like and subscribe. Pass it on. Tell your friends. You know, it helps out a lot. I'm on Discord. There'll be links on my homepage for YouTube. You can check it out there. I'll put links down in the doobly-doo. And I'm on ZellyPay. I guess Anthony, one of my foreign subscribers, told me that ZellyPay is not available outside of the U.S. I didn't know that. So to any of my foreign subscribers that wish to donate, I don't know how to do it, guys. I'll look into it and see. I don't know of any way. I mean, it's not my cup of tea. It's not my jam. I'll look at it and see if there's any kind of options out there, another service that provides an international pay route or whatever, like ZellyPay. Evidently, I didn't know it, but ZellyPay is only for the U.S. So if you're in the U.S. and you want to support the channel, donations are greatly appreciated, and it helps me out a lot. It keeps the channel going, puts food on the table, and helps pay for all these lovely game books you see behind me. You can reach me at the letter J, POLACK, @gmail.com, and that's ZellyPay. I'll put links down in the doobly-doo as always. And of course, I'm on MeWe, so you can find me on MeWe. You can find me on Discord, and I'm always happy to chat. Tomorrow night, I'm running a Simbaroom game. I've got 3 confirmed players. I'd like 4 to 5 players if possible. So if you've never tried Fantasy Ground or you've never tried Simbaroom and you'd like to maybe give both a go, I have the ultimate license for Fantasy Ground, so it doesn't cost you anything. All you have to do is either go to Steam on either the Mac or the PC, or you can just go to fantasygrounds.com and all one word, Fantasy Grounds, and you can download the client, and it's free to install. It doesn't cost you a dime. If you want to host and play your own games, then you need a license, which you can buy a single license or the ultimate license. They're getting ready to do a Kickstarter called Fantasy Ground Unity. And of course, if you buy Fantasy Grounds right now, they're going to have a special Kickstarter price for those people to upgrade to the new version. There's supposed to be a lot of bells and whistles in the new version, and I'm really excited to see what they come out with. I've been a long-time user of Fantasy Ground. I've played a bunch of games on it, and I've GM'd a couple. So far, my Esper Genesis game is going quite well. That's a D&D 5th edition sci-fi conversion, and I really like it. Everybody who's followed my channel for a while knows I'm not a huge fan of D&D, but I do like alternate rules or alternate settings that make use. It is a good rule set. I mean, I'm a critter. I love watching Critical Role. I stay up late on Thursday nights to watch it because it doesn't air here until 10, and on average 3 to 4 hour episodes, you know. So, yeah, I don't make it through. Mr. Mean falls asleep. I am old. But, yeah. So, anyway, like and subscribe, support the channel, help us out any way you can. Thanks a lot. Love you guys. Anyway, I have an announcement for Ostacon. Michael, the owner of Austicon, reached out to me, saw my video, and he thanked me very much for it. He had very kind words to say. And I did post a note on yesterday's video talking about Austicon and describing that I was going to be running Simba Room in Modern Age. And he did clarify that last year they raised just over $3,500 for autism. His wife is a special needs educator, and so that's why it's near and dear to their heart. And not everything from the convention goes into donations for autism. Of course, there's operating costs for the convention. They have to pay for the venue. They have to pay, for their time and everything to do it. But so if you buy it, I had made the comment that go support the con and buy a t-shirt or buy a hat. That money does not go to autism, sadly. But in a good way, it does go. It helps keep the con running and supports the con. So I still wholly support it. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday running games. I'm going to go check out the Spam Museum. I'm totally excited about that. So, yeah, if you're going to be in Austin, Minnesota, pop in and say hi to Mr. Mean. I'll be in one of the larger classrooms on Saturday running Simba Room, and then on Sunday I'll be running Modern Age. So pop on in and say hi if you're going to be in the area. It'd be great if I could say hi to you and meet you if you watch the channel. If you're a subscriber to the channel and you live in that area, pop up and say hi, man. Let's network. Let's get in touch. So anyway, today's video du jour is an oldie, not super old, but pretty old. 2008 was the first publication, and then it was again reprinted in 2009 and in 2010. And currently, they are working on a version 2.0. And this is a weird one, man. I grabbed this just on a whim because the cover really sparked me, and I went south from there. See, I hate having to invert the camera because then I don't know what side I'm on. I hate stray hairs. I'm crazy, guys. It's not my fault. It's crazy. I need to go back to work because this is driving me nuts. And if you're going to go nuts, why not go nuts with CthulhuTech? This is a blast from 2008. Matthew Grau is the brainchild behind this, and Wildfire Publications. Igniting Imagination is their tagline. Now, I want to point something out. You notice my copy does not have the little Catalyst logo. Catalyst is the fine guys that are behind Shadowrun and Earth Dawn. I've seen some videos and stuff online where they have the Catalyst logo. So I don't know if this is a newer version or an older version. I'm not sure. He doesn't have any errata. I'm going to call Matthew out on his website because, sir, I love your game. Your website sucks. It needs to be updated. It needs to be, you can't download a character sheet from it. I clicked on links. Some of them don't work. Some of them do work. He's making a couple different games, which is awesome. And I want to see small press companies do well. I downloaded the version 2.0 rules last night. I haven't had a chance to actually look at them, but I'm excited to give them a whirl. But I have this version, which is what I'm going to review. This is the 1.0 because the 2.0 version is not out. I'm hoping he goes to Kickstarter, and I'm hoping it funds because I would love to back it on Kickstarter and get a copy of the game. But if he decides not to go to Kickstarter, I will order it from my local game store or online. Amazon is usually a good source for me because I don't have a really good game store here in Duluth or in Wisconsin. There's just not a good game store. There's the Wisconsin game store is pretty much, they survive on Magic and Warhammer, and that's really what they cater to. So if you want stuff outside of that, they are more than happy to special order, but they don't have like a new item game shelf where you can go and pick up new books. They don't do it. Dungeons End, they suck. They don't really do new items. I don't know. They charge people to play. They don't charge. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know. So they don't carry new stuff. They carry some of the D&D new stuff here and there, but they're predominantly a Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon shop, and they cater to that pretty much exclusively. They do occasionally buy used RPGs, and I've sold a couple of things there, and they've given me relatively a fair price. I don't feel like I got ripped off or anything, but they don't carry new stuff for the most part. They carry some of the D&D stuff. They did get the Transformer card game, but again, I'm not a card flopper. I play Magic with my friends casually. I don't go out and have to get the new set and everything. So anyway, that being said, Matthew, if you watch this, if you check it out, I hope you either go to Kickstarter or you get it produced. However it is, you get it produced, and definitely let us know. Maybe make a note here on the channel and let us know how we can pre-order this or get our copies. My copy got a little water damage. I don't know how. I mean, I've moved several times, and I survived the flood of Hurricane Harvey, and my book got wet and it tore right there. So I noticed it today. It just happened. But I know this bookshelf doesn't leak, and this was up on the bookshelf. So let's get into this, guys. Have you heard of this? Have you played it? Because, man, you want to talk about a cool game. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer. This game touches on adult subjects. It is not... You can run your game however you want. And that's the joy of role-playing games. You want to run adult things. I typically like to run for 18 and over because... I use a little bit of profanity. Sometimes I use adult situations, and I don't ever want a parent coming back to me saying, "You had a rape scene in your game, and my son is traumatized." And I just don't want to deal with that. And so I try to only run for adults, unless I'm running an all-kid game. I've done stuff for Boys and Girls Club and local charities in the Beaumont area and Louisiana area where I ran for young adults, and so. That's an exception. That's, obviously I'm on my best behavior, and I'm not going to put kids in a situation that would be socially awkward. But this game does deal with adult themes. There's rape in here. There's murder. There's visceral. So if that's a sensitive issue in your family and you don't want your children looking at that, be aware. And I think it should go without saying with a name like CthulhuTech. You should know, and I think parents need to know what their kids are playing. I was in GameStop, and I boycott GameStop now. I don't use them. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. So, went into GameStop, and a mom was buying her kid Grand Theft Auto, whatever the latest version was, and the kid was like maybe 12 at most. I mean, he was pretty young, and he's with his friend, and he had to get his mom to buy it. Kudos to the GameStop person, because they wouldn't sell the game to the kid because you got to be over 18, because the kid's talking about the hot coffee scene, and I gotta get that. If you guys don't know what hot coffee is in Grand Theft Auto, and I didn't know, I had to go look it up a couple of years ago when it was all the rage and everybody was talking about it. I didn't know what the fuck it was, because I'm not a die-hard video game player. I'm a tabletop RPGer. I play video games to relax and to just casually have fun. I don't follow the culture in deep. But here's a 10, 11-year-old kid talking about they're going to do the hot coffee. And I remember I told the mom, I said, "Do you know what he's talking about?" She's like, "Oh, no, it's just his game." She totally blew it off, and she was just there to buy the game. The GameStop tech didn't say a word. He just, he's going to make a sale. That's all he cares about. I told the mom, I said, "Well, the hot coffee references sex. There is a thing you can do in the game where you get to have sex with another person." Now, in all fairness, they don't show the sex. They don't show any nudity, but it is intonated very hard. The gentleman takes his shirt off. He crawls into bed with her. She's got a sheet over her, and then the bed starts rocking, and a cup of hot coffee falls off. And they're making funny noises, if you know what I mean. So I just, as a parent myself, I just want you to be aware, so you know what your kid's doing. The mother was very upset. She actually got mad at the GameStop guy and said, "Why didn't you tell me that?" And the GameStop guy looked at me like, "Thanks a lot, asshole." But I'm like, the mom needs to know, because I would rather the kid get a stern talking to and not get this game, as opposed to dad comes walking in and sees this on the screen, or hears it and goes out there and sees his kid playing, and then the kid gets an ass beaten. I'd rather the kid never get to play the game at all, or play it with parental consent, and go from there. And I think parents need to be aware of what their kids are doing and what they're playing. So with that being said, tangent over. CthulhuTech is an adult-themed game. Parents, please be aware, there is slight nudity in the book. There's very gory scenes in the book. It is H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu. This is a homage to H.P. Lovecraft and his fictional writing of horror and terror. And so be aware that it deals with mental issues, it deals with abuse, it deals with rape, and so just be aware that it's a very adult-oriented game. Now, you don't have to play it that way. If you wanted to play, the great thing about this, and we'll get more into the game mechanics and the world setting in a minute, you want to play Pacific Rim? You can totally play Pacific Rim with this game. And I think it's probably one of the better games out there to do Pacific Rim. So if your kids like, kaiju and big monsters and, Godzilla and Megatron and, Ultraman, you could do it with this game. A little storytelling tweaking. The mechanics are awesome. You could totally rock it. So, that being said, what is CthulhuTech? Set in the future. Mankind, using the mythos of Cthulhu, has tapped magic. And in tapping that magic, we have encountered an inexhaustible energy source, magic. And we've created an engine to harness that magic called the D engine. And through that has led to progressively more advanced tech. And so now we have giant mechs, we have magic, we have people who can cast spells, scholars and arcano technicians that, you merge technology and magic together. And so it's a very cool setting. Problem is, the world went to hell in a handbasket. And so the government kind of collapsed. There's a lot of feudism. There was a lot of bad things going on. And we were starting to explore the stars. And, well, we ran into the Mi-Go. Now, the Mi-Go is a classic mythos of Cthulhu. But in this game, they're kind of more the alien invaders. And they've been using Earth for years to get resources and stuff like that, and they're slowly planning like a takeover and everything. But unfortunately, with the discovery of D engines and magic and that power that came along with it, they had to escalate their plans, and things went bad. And so they said, okay, we don't want to confront this, we don't want to destroy the planet, because they want the resources for themselves. And if they go to all-out war, they destroy the planet, and then there's no resources. So they decide, we're going to genetically engineer a scary race, and we're going to use them to attack the Earth and create a war and keep them from going to the stars. Basically make them funnel their resources into this war front. And so they genetically engineer the Nazidi, which are these dark screen, basically think drow. They're dark ebony skin and red eyes. And so it's supposed to be basically the classical, evidently the Mi-Go, they did secret surveys, and they figured they came to the conclusion that this appearance would scare the living bejesus out of humans. And to a degree, they are right. And so they created they cloned humans, genetically altered them to be the Nazidi, and then genetically fed them, and through propaganda, fed them these false memories that Earth is, I believe, if I remember correctly, Earth is their rightful planet, and Earth is out to destroy them. However they went about doing it, they made Earth the bad guys. And so the Nazidi were going to go there in their warships, which the Mi-Go provided for them. And the Nazidi don't know about the Mi-Go. They think they've been genetically bred and engineered with these false memories to think that they're this civilization and that Earth is their planet, and they need to get rid of these Earthlings. And so they throw them on these big ships, and they have them attack Earth, and it's a huge war. Governments collapse, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. And so the world, and of course nothing unites Earth more than a galactic threat. And so Earth says, hey, fuck you, Nazidi, we're going to get our shit together, and we're going to fight you on a united front. And they create the new Earth government. And it's basically all the continents, all the governments coming together under one political power, and it's a state of martial law. And a lot of people are upset about it. And in the meantime, while all of this is happening, as if it's not enough, with, of course, the discovery of G engines and the arcane and the mystical powers, the cultists of the old ones rise up. And now they're trying, because they want everything to just die and destroy and think that, the old gods are going to revere them and they're going to be the new masters, the new servants to the old gods when the old gods come into our realm and destroy everything. Well, we all know that's bullshit, but the cultists think it otherwise. And so now we're fighting a battle on two fronts. We're fighting the Nazidi and we're fighting all these cultists. Well, in the meantime, the Nazidi start to, some have been captured, some have crashed. They start to question, because they're down there in the battle lines and they're seeing children and they're seeing, poverty and depression, and it's a militaristic state, and they're going through all of this, and they're starting to question, and they're starting to realize, hey, these humans aren't much different from us. They have the same range of emotions. They love the same way we do. They feel the same way we do. And so they start questioning, and it starts getting up the chain of command until eventually these leaders start to question, and then the Migo make their presence known, and then they realize that it's all been a lie. It's all a sham. And so the Nazidi, long story short, the Nazidi revolt. They say, fuck you, Migo. They go to Earth and they say, look, they go to the New Earth government and they say, look, we're humans too. We've all been hoodwinked. The wool has been pulled over our eyes. Here's the real scoop. And they tell them the truth. We're clones. We'll stop the war. We'll coexist with you as long as you let us stay here. And of course, I think technically New Earth was losing. New Earth government was losing, and it was a lot of casualties, and it just wasn't going the way they wanted it to go. And so they agree. And so long story short, the Nazidi and the humans make peace. And they realize, fuck the Migo. And so at this point, the Migo realize, oh shit, our plan didn't work. Well, fuck it. We're just going to nuke it from orbit and we're going to take the planet. And so now starts this overt war with the Migo and their giant mechs and monsters and subversive campaign and all this bad stuff. And so now they're fighting a battle on sometimes 3 fronts, because not all of the Nazidi have kicked over to the human side. Some are still loyal to the Migo. So they're fighting the Migo. They're fighting some of the Nazidi insurgents, and they're fighting the cultists. And so it's hard to fight a battle on 3 fronts. And so that's where the game politically sets. It's a very political, militaristic game. It is martial law. You just can't go walking around. It's slightly in the future, so technology has progressed pretty far. Magic is a real thing. There are people that can cast spells. And so your character classes represent that. And if I have one beef with the game, it is that it is too diverse. It's like Rifts. Rifts is a great concept, but to actually play Rifts makes your head hurt, because there are so many choices and so many different ways to go, and it's chaotic. And if you don't put limitations on your game, it'll be all over the place. And as a GM, most GMs can't handle 6 different genres going on at once. So it's going to be hard and chaotic, and your players are going to suffer, because anytime the GM is distracted or not 100% set on the rules, or having a bunch of different rules to go over, confusion happens and games suffer. So my recommendation is pick a genre: magic, giant mecha, intrigue, spy, espionage. Pick one of those subgenres and go with that. Have all the players be relatively of the same class. So, or profession. There's no classes. This game uses professions. So let's go over the professions. First, before we do that, let's go over the book itself. So it's full color, hardback. It is stitched and glue bound. It does come with ribbons in it, which is awesome. A nice touch. That's why I think this is the first printing and not the second print from Catalyst Games, or vice versa. Because I do remember seeing a copy of the book, and I don't think it had the ribbons in it. So anyway, if I've got a collector's item, guys, let me know. But I love the book. I'm happy it's in my collection. Full color, glossy pages. This book I've had it since 2008, and it's held up. Like I said, got a little bit of a water damage, a little scuff here on the bottom. But for the most part, it's in really good shape. So CthulhuTech, 286 pages plus front and back character sheet, full index, full glossary. So really well done as far as production value of the book. I don't think it's going to fall apart on you anytime soon, unless the person who owned it before you just didn't take care of it. But that being said, the professions. CthulhuTech, that's basically your mages. Engel Pilot. Your Engel Pilots are where they've fused mechs and magic. And these Engels are alive. And they have a will of their own. And so basically think Pacific Rim with organic mechs. It's pretty cool. Intel Agent. Spy, basically. Mecha Pilot. Now, your mecha are different from your Engel. Your mecha pilots are different from the Engel Pilots. Engel Pilots are living, breathing, sentient giant robots, basically. Whereas mechas are just that. They're robots that you get into, and it still takes a certain amount of chutzpah to pilot these mechs. But they are not Engels. They are just machines. And then you have the Occult Scholar, which is the other side of the CthulhuTech. CthulhuTechs fuse technology and magic, and a little bit of spell magic and power into technology to produce effects. Whereas the Occult Scholar is your traditional wizard, your cult leader, that kind of thing. But some of them do work for the good guys. A soldier, straight up grunt. Give him a machine gun. He's got some body armor. He goes out there and he kills shit. That's what he does. And then probably my favorite, and if I ever run a game, this is the mode that I will run in, is the Tager. A Tager. So a Tager is an agent or an asset, a person who has undergone this mystical fusion between, for lack of a better word, a monster, a Cthulhu monster, and their self. And so they exist together. It's a symbiosis relationship. And as an Engel, or as a Tager, you transform into basically teeth and claws, and you murder everything in the room. And there's different types of Tagers, and the book goes into that. So if I was going to run CthulhuTech, that's what I would run. I would run a campaign of Tagers where they were pretty much, investigators going out, dealing with the cultist. Because the cultists, the bad guys, are summoning, these minor demons and sometimes major demons, or things from beyond, Cthulhu-esque monsters. And they're causing havoc and sacrifices and things like that. So sci-fi, technology, giant mechs, giant monsters, you name it. I mean, this game can kind of do it, which I think is really cool. And you've got magic on top of everything else. Game mechanics. It's got a neat game system. You have an attribute and a skill, and then you have some D10s. Whatever your skill is, that's how many D10s you're going to roll, and then the GM is going to set a target number, and with that target number, you're looking at a couple of different options to beat that target number. You can either do, let's say for argument's sake, you're rolling 3D, and it's a D10 system, by the way. So you're rolling 3D10. Let's say you roll a 10, a 7, and a 1. Okay, 10 is your highest die. You go with that. But let's say you roll 4, 5, 6. That's considered what they call a straight. Doesn't matter what the numbers are as long as they're consecutive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 9, 8. Any realm along that, and it doesn't matter how many dice. If you're rolling 4 dice, it could be 4, 5, 6, 7. It could be 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Whatever. Just consecutive. Or doubles. So if you roll 2 10s, say you're rolling 4 dice, you roll 2 10s, a 1 and a 2, you can take the 2 10s. That's 20. If you roll a straight 4, 5, 6, and you're rolling 4 dice, you roll 4, 5, 6 and a 8. Well, the 4, 5, 6 is going to be more than the highest die. So it's a weird mechanic to wrap your head around. And then if you roll more 1s, 50% or more 1s out of the dice you roll. So if you roll 3 4s or 3 1s out of 4 dice, that's a critical fumble. It's a foobar. So that's the mechanic. It's super easy. The game has a ton of skills. Your core attributes. We'll look at the character sheet. Ton of skills. I mean, we've got all kinds of skills. Your attributes and feats are agility, intelligence, perception, presence, strength, and tenacity. Tenacity is real important if you want to be an Engel pilot, because you're wrestling with basically the will of a monster, and so you have to be it. There's a bunch of other stuff. It's a cool little tick mark on the character sheet on how they do things. You can pause the video there and take a peek at it. And then there's the Tager character sheet, because remember, it's the only class that you actually play 2 characters. And then your Tager has agility, perception, strength, and tenacity. It has a fear factor, because some of them can be pretty scary. It regenerates. And then, of course, you've got spells by order: first order, second order, third order, and then all the things they do. It is a very unique dynamic system. I think I've yet to play it. I've always wanted to play it, can never get a group together. I did watch a couple online games last night. I'm real picky about who I watch on a gaming session, and the only 2 live plays or recorded plays that I could find on YouTube were people just being stupid and goofy, and that's just not my interest. So I didn't have an interest for it. I just didn't want to watch it. I take a lot of my role-playing very seriously, and I think this is a game where you'd want to play very serious, and yet these people were making fart jokes and stuff. It just wasn't my cup of tea. You may enjoy it, and just do a search for CthulhuTech live play, and you'll pull up a couple of YouTube games on it. There are a number of source books that are out here for it. Vade Mecum, I think, is probably the most pertinent, because it gives you a lot more world information, and it gives you 4 more Tagers to use. So you have a total of 8 if you have that source book in this. Some new skills, some new feats. It's very well done book. I think out of all the books that are out there for it, I think it's really the only one you need. A couple of the other books touch on some subjects that are a little, I don't really want to see them in my game. Racial insecurities, fetch, unveiled threats. That's kind of a good one. It's more monsters, almost like a monster manual. Mortal Realms, I don't really have any experience with. Ancient Enemies, again, I think that's more of a monster manual. Burning Horizons is kind of fiction, and I think either Unveiled Threats or Insecurities is a whole bunch of fiction. It's up on Drive-Thru RPG. The core rulebook, first edition rulebook, is going to cost you a whopping $15. Which these are all, of course, PDF. The open beta rules for version 2.0 are free, so you can download those for free. CthulhuTech, all the other various source books are $25, except for Racial Insecurities is $2.99, and of course the Quick Start rules are free. I highly recommend, if you want to check it out, that you download the Quick Start rules and look at it. See if this is something that interests you. I mean, this may not be for everyone, and I get that. It is rather on the dark side, or can be, depending if you try to run it as is and you read the world. It's very, again, martial law, aliens out there, war atrocity kind of thing. So it's very much adult themes, but I think it can be a good game. I personally would run it on the Engel theme, where my players were basically symbiotes and they were fighting cultists and things like that, and make the cultists the bad guys or the Migo, and so you can go from there. So guys, have you played it? Do you know about it? Have you heard it? The art in here is literally fantastic. It's really, really well done. Very much gives a really good vibe to the game. I mean, here's an angle right here, or something that's happening. Either way, it doesn't look comfy. And when you make your angle, there's rules. There's a bestiary section in here. Goes over, monsters and mechs and everything, all the bad things you'll run into, the different types of mechs that you can use. There's a lot of fiction in here. It's really, really well written. The layout I like. It's a little busy for me, but I really, really like it. So I have the core book, and I have the GM screen. I really like the GM screen because it's a landscaped GM screen, and the art is, I feel, phenomenal on it. We've got a 4-pane GM screen with lots of evocative art, and then the inside of the GM screen is all the charts that you will need as a GM. I think it's really well done. And one of the cool things is this GM screen came with a bunch of inserts. And what's cool about these inserts is they really, really help with the game. We have Beast. So there's a whole bunch of Beast. The White Death is amazing. It's just a giant shark. The Esoteric Order of Dagon. These are Engels and the big guys. I forgot what they're called. The Engel pilots and Tagers. These are the bad guys. So you don't want to run into these guys. And it gives you their name. So these are just visual references. They didn't have to put these in here, but they did, and I think it's awesome. Here's a bunch of the Engels, and I think there's 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 10. They're showing 10. And very cool. So there may have been some other Engels that were in other source books. I'm not sure. And then you have the Nazidi. Now, the Nazidi have their mechs. They have their Engels because, remember, they're genetically altered humans, but they're basically the same as humans. They just have really dark skin and creepy red eyes. They are, I think, a little more prone to magic, but don't quote me on that. But there's theirs as well. So, you can give visual representations. They do give you rituals and spells and parapsychic powers and the use requirements. So just a little GM cheat sheet. Again, we have Dahonanids. These are bad guys, monsters. I think these are the ones the Migos do. And then you have the Meta-Terrestrials. And again, deep ones. These are all the Cthulhu-esque ones. There's the Migu up there, the Gaunt, deep ones, the Lich, ghouls. So just creepy shit. Desolate One, I believe, is a cultist. So yeah, just bad stuff. Here is a world map of 2085. So that's the year we're in, and it basically tells you who owns what. Here's some more Tagers. The Tagers, not the Engels. These are Tagers. So definitely some cool ones there. And these are all ones that players could be. I remember this one up here because those big shoulder pads, they open up and he shoots missiles out of them. So, or bio. Very much, if you want to play Guyver, if you're a huge anime fan of Guyver, this is the system I would use. So definitely very cool. And then last but not least, we have the New Earth government, and this is all of their mechs, and I think these are the mechs. So they are just awesome looking. So again, you want to do your Pacific Rim, you want to do anything like that, giant robots fighting giant monsters, you've got it. And then you've got your Migu, and this is all of represented. And I believe, yeah, they give you the page number and what book they're out of. So Vade Meckham and the core book is pretty much what everything comes out of. Yeah. So definitely the 2 books you want to get if you want to play this in any whatever genre you like to play. Like I said, I would kind of almost go with a Bio Booster Guyver or run the straight Engel or Tager combat thing. Those are the 2 books you definitely want to have. And then, of course, you want to get your the GM screen, because it is amazing. It is really well done GM screen. I mean, my old eyes, I would love the text to be bigger, but then they wouldn't be able to get all the information on here that they do. There's size modifiers for the mechs and range modifiers, because obviously range combat is going to be a deal. So, super awesome game, guys. I have rambled on for almost 40 minutes. I can't say enough good things about this game. Mr. Grau, you've knocked it out of the park. I really, really hope your 2.0 does as well. I hope you keep the same theme of the book and the art, which I'm sure you have. I haven't had a chance to look at the 2.0 document. I'm pretty sure he has, because that's what sold me on this game. I remember I'm not a huge Cthulhu guy. I've said to this before, I'm not a horror guy. You could run this as a horror game. You could run this as a modern day Cthulhu with investigators. I mean, that is one of the intelligence agents and occult scholars. You could run a Cthulhu sci-fi game with this perfectly well, and I think the mechanics suit it quite well. So awesome super game. I hope to get it to a game table one day. Maybe when I start hitting up some of the more local conventions, I will try to run it at a local con. I think I've got SkaCon coming up here at the Fantasy Flight Game Center at the end of the year in September, and I'm going to definitely try to go to that. And if I do, I think I want to run this. I think it would be cool. So anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on CthulhuTech. It's a buy in my book. I think it's a really cool game. Again, adult themes. Some of the art's a little scary or adultish, so parents beware if it's something if your kids are horror kids, and I know 8-year-olds out there that love Freddy Krueger and love horror movies, and if that's your jam, cool. Just parents be aware. It's very adult themes. It's very adult oriented. So guys, that's my thoughts and opinion on CthulhuTech from Wildfire, igniting imagination. Let me know in the comments below. Have you seen it? Have you played it? Have you heard about it? Do you own it? What do you think about it if you do own it? Have you played it? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. As always, guys, peace and hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says, be nice.